Okay, continuing with chapter 25, the fossil record. The DNA that they found suggests that sponges and the common ancestors, several other animal phyla evolved 700 to 670 million years ago. So sponges were the first. They're the simplest of the animals, okay? And then cnidarian and all that, those would all be sea creatures, okay? The fossil record said the earliest animals date back to 710 to 506, I should say 560 to 710 million years ago. So again, they haven't been really around that long. The molecular and the fossil data suggest that the Cambrian explosion, it was a long fuse. In other words, there was a lot of changes during that time. Okay, so the colonization of land, what happened was when the atmosphere changed and we got that layer of ozone, you probably saw that in the video before this, the ozone protected critters so they could come out of the water. Up until that point, the UV rays would destroy anything if you lived on land. So now we had this protective layer of ozone that blocked up the UV rays, and so now creatures could start going on land. Okay, you had the vascular tissue in the plants that would transfer materials. Then they could get larger and larger and larger. Okay, they appeared about 420 million years ago. Plants and fungi likely kind of colonized the land together. They were, in some cases, they work together, like if you've seen lichens and things like that. Fossilized plants show evidence of using the fungus. So the fungus helped them and they helped the fungus. Okay, and you can still see some of that today, and that's called mutualism. They help each other out. Okay, we have arthropods, which would be jointed legs, and pteropods. Okay, so arthropods would evolve into insects and all that things. Pteropods would be your diverse land animals. Okay, pteropods, they first came from what they called lobe fin fishes. Okay, they weren't lungs, they were lobe. And they started crawling up on the land. And then you get humans. And we've only been around 6 to 7 million years. And not the modern humans that we have now. Okay, we've only been around, you can see, 195,000 years ago. So I was close to being around during that time, but not quite. Okay, but anyway, that's, you had this, it kept evolving and evolving and changing and changing. It took a long time. It wasn't something that happened overnight. Okay, you have speciation and other new species being formed, and you also have extinction. Okay, the history of the earth has many groups of organisms that have disappeared and new ones that have been formed. Okay, the rate and fall depends on the groups. Okay, some of them are very, very, if you want to say delicate, they're more likely to become extinct than some of them that are readily able to adapt. Okay, we have, if you've taken any geology, you know about plate tectonics. We have these plates that make up all the land masses. And at one time, we had a supercontinent. And over the past, it's 1.5 billion years or whatever, it broke apart. Okay, so we have these plates in the crust, and they're always moving around. Okay, these are what cause things like, earthquakes and all that fun stuff. When they run into each other, we get mountains. So they're really formed the landscape that we live on. Okay, so tectonic plates move slowly through the process of continental drift. Oceans and continental plates can collide and separate. They can slide across each other. Again, that's where you're going to get volcanoes, where you're going to get earthquakes, where you have these plates coming together. Okay, interactions between them, I just said that. Interactions between the plates cause the formation of mountains, islands, earthquakes. Okay, and then again, these are plates in the crust that come in contact with each other. So when we had the supercontinent, they called it Pangaea, because they actually figured it out. They put all the continents and they kind of fit together about 250 million years ago. Okay, so at one time it was one big land mass and all the rest of it was just water. Okay, so when this happened, when they separated, we got deeper ocean basins. We had a reduction in the shallow water habitat because they moved so far apart. And then it got colder and it got drier inland. Okay, the oceans affect a lot of the weather on the coast, but if you have more and more inland, then it's not going to be affected by as much. So we have continental drift that has many effects on the living organisms. Okay, if the climate can change, they're going to move one way or the other. You know, if they're suited for a warmer climate, they're going to go south. If they're suited for a colder climate, they're going to go north. Okay. When you had the separation of the land masses, you had a lot of different speciation. They changed their the way they ate, so that it changed their limbs. There's all kinds of things that happened because of these land masses separating. Okay. So the distribution of fossils and living groups reflects this movement of the continents. Okay, at one layer that many of them are all the same when they were together. Then when they spread apart, you get different fossils, because when they're not living together, when they're not, there's going to be changes. For example, the fossils in parts of South America and Africa is consistent with the facts that those guys were formerly attached. So, they're pretty far apart. So why would they have fossils that are the same? Okay, so we have mass extinctions. Okay, the fossil record shows that at many times we have mass extinctions, and again, the one you probably know is the dinosaurs. Okay, extinction can be caused by changes in a species environment. Okay, when you get an ice age and then it changes to warm and then it goes back to ice, things can happen. Okay, at times the rate of extinction has increased dramatically, and that's a mass extinction. And again, the most common probably would be the dinosaurs. Okay, a mass extinction is some sort of disruptive global environmental change. Okay, there have been 5 that they know of, 5 mass extinctions where at least 50% of the marine species became extinct. Okay, and that's what they define a mass extinction, where 50%. Okay, one was 65.5 million years ago, the Cretaceous mass extinction. Okay, the organisms that went extinct, which was about half the marine and many of the terrestrial plants and animals, including our dinosaurs. Okay, so this was the one most people know about. Okay, the presence of iridium in the sedimentary rocks suggests that there was probably a large meteorite that impacted the Earth, and then because you have all the sediment in the atmosphere, it changed the atmosphere and they just didn't survive. Okay, the dust clouds cause an impact and block the sunlight and disturb the global climate, and that's why you ended up with so many things becoming extinct. There's a big crater off of Mexico. I don't know how to say that, you guys. It's an evidence that there was a meteorite, and then when they've dated it, they found the iridium and they found it. So that was probably where it hit and caused this mass extinction. Okay, there's talk of the 6th mass extinction is underway right now. Okay, they estimate that the current rate of extinction 100 to 1,000 times the typical background rate. Okay, extinction rates tend to increase when global temperatures increase, which we know that's happening right now. We have a change. And now some people say global warming is just a cyclic thing, and it is, but not the way it's going right now. If you do a graph, it's like this, the temperature, and right now it's like our graph is, instead of just this little lump, it's like way up here. So it's something that we're causing. Okay, data suggests that a 6th human-caused mass extinction is likely to occur unless something is done, unless there's some dramatic action. Okay, the consequences of it can alter the ecological communities, the niches available to organisms. We could lose a lot. We're losing a lot of our critters. There's a lot of species that are now extinct. Okay, it can take from 5 to 100 million years for diversity to recover from a mass extinction. So it takes a long time. Mass extinctions can change the types of organisms that are found in the communities. Okay, we don't have dinosaurs anymore. Okay, for example, the percentage of marine organisms that were predators increased after the Cretaceous mass extinction. So it changed their niche, their job. Okay, then you have lineage, and the advantageous features can be lost during mass extinctions. Okay, so they can go back to square one, and unfortunately it takes a long time for that natural selection to get back up to where they want to be. Okay, if you eliminate many species because of a mass extinction, then you can have some adaptive radiation things that can occur. Creepy things, right? No. Adaptive radiation is a rapid evolution of a diversely adapted species. Okay, let me see if I have some. Okay, so adaptive radiations occur after a mass extinction. I hope I have some examples here. Oh, I don't think I do. Sorry about that. I'll make sure that I have a video to show you some of this. Okay. But again, after a mass extinction, you're going to have a lot of living things that are very similar to each other because they survived. Okay. So mammals underwent adaptive radiation after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Okay. The disappearance of the dinosaurs, except the birds, allowed for the mammals to change in diversity and size. Before that, they were probably hunted and destroyed by the dinosaurs, so there wasn't very much. Okay. Other notable would be photosynthetic prokaryotes. Okay. So bacteria that can produce their own food. Large predators, land plants, insects, pteropods. Okay. So all of this occurred after that extinction, and it was basically, you got rid of those big guys so that the other guys could come in and change things. Okay. So there's adaptive radiation can occur from organisms in a new environment if they don't have any competition. Okay. The Hawaiian Islands is one of the great showcases of adaptive radiation. Okay. Because they're so isolated. Okay. Like I was talking about with this, I have friends that live in Hawaii and now they're having issues. They have a beautiful, beautiful array of birds, but because of global warming, they're losing a lot of them because the insects are moving up into their territory because the frost line has moved up because it's so much warmer, and they're losing a lot of their birds. Okay. Evolution is not goal orientated. I mean, it's kind of like tinkering. All right. It's not, it doesn't have a, an end goal in mind. It's like a slight modification over many, 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 many years. Okay. Some of the things that can happen, some novel biological structures have evolved. Our complex eyes have evolved from simple photosynthesis sensitive cells. So you can get some, huge differences, but it takes a while. There are structures that evolve in contexts. They're co-op with a different function, but they're supposed to do one thing, but they do something else, and then they find out they're better at that something else. And again, you got natural selection there. They can improve that structure. Okay. Natural selection, we talked about intermediate in between, like when the bird's wings were formed. They didn't happen overnight. It took many, 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 many. So you've got these adaptations that can cause that to occur. Okay. There's tracks or trends. If you extract a single evolutionary progression, it's hard to follow it because you have so many different areas where you can get your fossils from. But apparent trends can be, they have to examine in a broader context. You can't get real specific because, again, you might be missing fossils. There's, no fossils were made during a certain time. You've got all kinds of information. So you got missing gaps. Okay. The species selection model suggests that differentiated speciation success may determine the trends. So if they can change their species, then they'll be more successful. Okay. And they do not imply that they have an intrinsic, it's not like they try to do it. It's just something that kind of happens. And again, we talk about natural selection. They're just better suited for the environment. So they prosper where other ones don't. Okay. So there's our sixth extinction. Maybe the COVID is part of our sixth extinction. I don't know, you guys, but again, just something to think about. We are done with notes for Biology 150. You can say a big yay. I won't be able to hear you, but yay, right? Okay.